Hello and welcome to Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Marco Tabo. Federal government finally signs Unveils Renegotiated agreement with ASUU. Nigeria marks 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day as federal government reaffirms the importance of honoring fallen soldiers, serving officers. And later on the show, Four Rivers lawmakers make U-turn, insist on Fubara's impeachment. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Another milestone has been reached as tertiary education is finally receiving the attention it deserves. The federal government has signed a renegotiated agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, aimed at addressing the long-standing issue of incessant strikes. The agreement brings to an end a 16-year implementation stalemate over the controversial 2009 federal government ASUU Pact on the service conditions of lecturers in public tertiary institutions. ASUU President Chris Piwuna expressed optimism that the federal government will honor the agreement and follow through on its commitments this time. My guest with me in the studio right here is, of course, Raymond Nkanebe.
Yeah.
I hope I got that pronunciation
Absolutely,
right. Fantastic. Good to have you on the show.
Fantastic. Thank you for
having me. And of course, joining me via Zoom, of course, I have Executive Director, Center for Public Accountability, Olufemi Lawson. Olufemi Lawson, good evening and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Mark. Thank you.
Happy New Year. This is the first time we are actually meeting this year. So compliments of the season once again.
Yeah, same from here.
All right, I'll begin with you, Olufemi, quickly. Now, 16 years is a long time to hold back the progress of our tertiary institutions. Now, how did we not make this a cause of particular concern before now?
Well, thank you. It is quite commendable. And I must especially commend the incumbent Minister of Education, Dr. Tuja Alausa, for the underground work the ministry have done in achieving. Remember, this is not the first time the federal government and ASUU is renegotiating the 2009 agreement. There have been 3 different committees in the past: the Dr. Wali Babalaki committee, the Brain committee, the Nimi Briggs committee, to renegotiate this agreement until this Alhaji Yayale Ahmed committee has broken these chains of renegotiation. And I think this committee deserves also special commendation. And this is one very clear-cut indication of the determination of the current administration to place priority on education, because irrespective of the amount of bridges and roads we eventually build as part of your record of achievement as a government, without necessarily building the future which is inherent in education, we may be joking with our future as a country. It is worrisome that it took 16 years for federal government to achieve this, because this has really drawn back the progress of our tertiary education, particularly the university system. And I hope that this renegotiation would not be another negotiation like it was in 2009, but one that will be genuinely implemented for the sake not just of the university lecturers, but for the sake of the education in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Raymond, quickly now, the bandwidth of patience in trusting the federal government to come through lacks that foothold right now. Now, given past failures, why should Nigerians trust that this will be different?
Honestly, speaking objectively, I don't think Nigerians should expect any different from what happened, from what led to the observance in the breach of the 2009 agreement. But because we're in a new dispensation, this is, if you look at the process that culminated in this renegotiated agreement, you might just want to, I think, just be cautiously optimistic, because we have a system that does not show fidelity to negotiated or agreements generally, as a matter of, almost as a state policy, From a legal background, you have, there are several instances of federal government not honoring agreement with different stakeholders. So what is the assurance that this occasion will be different? Honestly, I have to be cautiously optimistic. As much as I commend the work that went into this process, I must shout out to the Minister of Education, Mr. Tunji Alausa, who was very, very dedicated to this outcome. Whether we should be optimistic, as that government will keep to their commitment, it remains to be seen, if you ask me.
Okay, now you have actually highlighted that there is always a problem with actually holding through with the agreement.
Absolutely.
It's been 16 years.
Yes.
We've heard Nigerians do exploits in other parts of the world, especially occupying top parastatals in the world. And this shows that education has a foothold in this country with the way of how our leaders portray themselves outside of the country. It makes us proud. Why does it not click to our leaders that this is, you know, a springboard for us to experience more development and grow as a nation? And we are just toiling and you know, playing with this situation of education.
That's a very good question. I think it was Nelson Mandela who said that education is the most important, one of the most vital weapon which you can use to change the world. So the role of education in turning around the fortunes of an individual, a society, and at the larger scale, a country cannot be overemphasized. Like you pointed out, Nigerians are well renowned for how we are committed to pursuing education, even at the highest level. There was a recent report 2 or 3 days ago that documented the presence of Nigerians in universities in the UK, and it was discovered that Nigerians actually formed a high percentage of immigrants who are studying out there. So to your question as to why this has not been adopted like more of like a state policy over the years, I think it still goes down to the systemic leadership issues that has dogged Nigeria since let's say post-independence, but even more seriously at the turn of democracy in 1999. It's not as if government does not know the importance of education and how it is related to the fortunes of the country. I think maybe it's just a deliberate way of just, you know, keeping the people less educated so you can manipulate them to your political advantage.
Olufemi Lawson, quickly now, there are clamors that university funding should be removed from political control altogether. Do you share the same thoughts as well?
Well, it's part of the autonomy being demanded, you know, by in the agreement, you know, by ASUU and the federal government. But the truth is that if you look at a lot of our universities today, they cannot be self-sufficient in terms of productivity, because if you look at majority of our universities today, they are majorly learning centers where people just go in and get certificates and come out and, you know, start searching for jobs, until our universities also become centers of productivity beyond the divide the X, you know, certification approach given to education. We may not, you know, I may not totally succumb to the idea that universities can be self-funding, because the burden may eventually fall on the students who may have to resort into paying very huge, you know, amounts of fees to sustain the various. But as it is, you cannot totally remove the hand of the federal government or the state government, as the case may be in the case of state universities, from the funding of the university. And whoever plays the piper will dictate the tone. As long as our universities still rely on government for funding, it cannot be totally autonomous in the area of financial administration. So on the part of the universities also, particularly the lecturers, we must begin to look at the process of making these universities self-sufficient financially in the area of productivity. Our universities must be research centers. Our universities must be centers of innovations. Our universities must become the real universal cities where ideas, where tools, where machines, where technology are developed to the extent that they can be self-sufficient in the area of funding. Now they can determine how they want to spend their money because they are generating this money. But for universities who cannot even generate enough money to pay ordinary salaries, financial autonomy may not be totally possible as it is now, because the federal government and the state government still, you know, fund these universities almost to over 90%. So, you know, talking about the independence financially, it may be practically impossible as the case is now.
Thank you very much. Well, we can only hope that this current administration has taken the bold step to renegotiate the agreements, and hopefully we see how this pulls through, and so that our universities can start experiencing some leverage of sanity. Thank you very much. All right, we'll take a break.